I'm a performing artist, a singer-songwriter, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I'm also in the media space as a TV and radio host. And I'm passionate about helping creative entrepreneurs make money from their works. That's as simple as what our mandate and our mission is at JGIP. If there's something that you have created that sits within the intellectual property, copyright, trademark, patent, that creative aspect of your business, how can we help you create it? How can we help you protect it? How can we help you exploit it? And how can we help you to monetize it? So that's what I'm about, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thanks, Angie.
Thank you, June. Frida, maybe you could also give us a nice introduction of yourself and the SME Founders Association.
Thank you so much, Angie. I'm the founder of SME Founders Association. SME Founders Association exists to support small and growing business owners to thrive. And for us to thrive, it means that the business owner can pay himself or herself, employ others and be able to pay them so that we have a better economy. I'm also the founder of Passion Profit, where I've been helping people to package their passion into profit. And I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much, Angie.
Thank you, Frida. And lastly, but not least, Eric.
Thank you, Angie. Good morning or afternoon. So I'm Eric Kinoti. I lead a team of consultants at TruQuantum, where we assist clients basically around matters of tax, where we help you not just be compliant by filing returns, but also look at ways where you can optimize and minimize your taxes. I'm happy to be here and to discuss more on tax matters. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm sure we were all keenly listening in on the survey that has just been presented on, and I don't know whether anyone has initial thoughts. What jumped out at you, from this survey? What are the things that either were shocking or were interesting for you? Frida, maybe you could. No. Oh, you're there. Okay, yeah.
That was the first trial. That was the dry run. I was muted. I'm sorry. The dry run of the real run. One of the things that really struck me is how unconscious we are as small business owners, because I'm also a business owner. How unconscious we really are of our environment based on that research, but also just sitting here and listening to June say that her company is an IP company. I've known her sister. The first time that Passion Profit was launched, her sister was the HR consultant. And I've been looking for somebody to copyright all the material that we are doing. And here is somebody sitting with me on a partner. How unconscious are we of all the resources that are around us? That was the most critical thing for me that has come up, that we need to be more conscious of the resources that are around us.
Yeah, and that's a good
Back
point.
To you, Angie.
Yeah, that's an amazing point, Frida. I think also that definitely strikes me as interesting, that there are so many resources and opportunities that have been given to SMEs, and we seem not to know that they're there. So I wonder whether it's a communication problem, or it's is it that the people who are creating these resources are not communicating effectively, or in the alternative, is it that as SMEs, we're busy working, busy putting our head down and grinding to make the next shilling, instead of looking around to see where the help might come from. I don't know, June, do you have anything to add on to that?
Yes, I do, Angie. I actually agree with Frida, and maybe I can just share that last month we had a World Intellectual Property Day. And every year on the 26th of April, the World Intellectual Property Organization selects a topic for all practitioners to focus on as part of creating awareness. And this year it was IP and SMEs. And I can't tell you how interesting it was to even find people who considered themselves SMEs. And what that sort of blew out of proportion for me was how we're not even sure where we fall. And I think it's tied to what you're saying about we're just, our heads are down, we're grinding, we're trying to make the business work. But when I ask people to define for me why they think they are an SME, a small or a micro or medium sized enterprise, they actually couldn't tell me. They were like, I don't know, it's me and my sister or me and my friend. And I think we're so caught up with those sort of like structural issues that then being able to know I can walk to a financial institution and say, this is what I have. These are the assets, both physical and intangible. What facilities or what assistance can you give me? Which grants can I access? Which loans can I access? It seems like after your fifth or sixth or 10th year in business is when you can lift your head and look for these solutions, as opposed to as you're thinking of starting your business, why aren't these part of the resources you research? And I think we need to maybe take a few steps back and try and understand why that's the case. And of course, with the IP component, there's so many things that you probably already have on your shelf that could be working for you, that could be earning money for you. And why are we not looking at those assets in addition to personnel and other types of resources like that? So I think that's what also came out for me. And I'm not super surprised by some of the results in this survey, just because literally in April I had a similar situation as we were preparing for this World IP Day celebration.
Okay. Wow. And Eric, I mean, you're the tax guy, and I have to ask you this because every other, after every few minutes we had tax, digital services tax, mandatory taxation, VAT. What else is there? Minimum tax. I think that one went to court. There's so many, and even from the survey, you could see that SMEs are saying the burden it's too much. We feel like this is too big a burden for us. There's a lot of taxation that's happening, and the thing that just popped up to me was just wondering about SMEs and the tax burden that is placed on them. Is there a better way of doing this? Is there an opportunity that the government is missing? What more can be done to ease this burden? Is it knowledge? Is it a knowledge gap perhaps also with SMEs? Maybe they don't understand what the taxes are. Maybe you can just touch on that.
So I can start from the first point would be there's a bit of disconnect between the policies that we have and the tax administration. For instance, the government has put measures or systems, the ways of funds to support SMEs, as they put it, but at the same time forgetting that, especially during this period of pandemic, most SMEs are living from hand to mouth, for lack of a better definition. So I would have urged the government also look at systems where, for instance, we pick like last year when the tax rates were reduced, most SMEs stayed afloat because we were able to save little money. But before businesses could recover, we were taken back to the previous rates. So I think the rates were there only for 9 months during a period where most businesses or business owners were trying to figure out how do I deal with times of pandemic? Do I put more money into the digital service space and try and make something out of it? So that disconnect between the policy and the tax administration needs to be addressed. And when we say tax administration, it's not just about looking at taxes in a way that all taxes will fit all businesses across the board, but also appreciating that SMEs, especially in this country, play a vital role in creating employment and ensuring even there is a trading going on. Then the second thing would be sensitization. And I think this is where I also call upon my other tax experts, that there is a lot of education to be disbursed or dispensed to most SMEs. And then thirdly, also on us SME business owners, let's be ready to invest in also knowledge, get to know if there is a new tax, what does it mean for me? Does it mean that I only need to be compliant? The same laws also provide an opportunity for you to plan better. And planning means within the law where you're able to reduce your taxes. And in the long run, you find that your bottom line is always healthy. Instead of earning and every time you are also struggling to pay taxes. I think for me, those 3 key points work for me.
Well, that's good advice. I hope everyone is with a pen and a paper and free taxation advice, from the tax expert to be sitting down and taking notes. Frida, I think one of the things that jumped out for me was how many SMEs are going online and either moving their businesses online or ensuring that they have an online presence and being able to meet their customers, taking themselves to where their customers are, which these days is in social media. So I know you, in fact, whenever I think of Frida, I think of how amazing she is. Her social media game is on point. She really knows how to drive drive her agenda and reach out to people. Like, it's amazing. And I don't know, maybe you could give us just a few tips and tools and tricks for SMEs who are joining us today. They're all moving there. They're all going to Facebook. We're all on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Some of us are older. We're wondering, how do we do TikTok? What is this now? Is it for us? You can give us tips and tricks on, how do we handle social media for businesses?
Okay. I know Angie from another life, and as she speaks, so many things about her come back to mind, and I can't say them all. So I'm trying to sift them in my head. So, tips and tricks for social media. I'm going to sound like a stark record today, Angela. Please forgive me. And the reason is consciousness. The biggest problem I think we have as a people and as an SME is just we're so unconscious of what is around us, because I'm 55 today and I started using social media. I remember very clearly in 29. I came back into the country in 2009. All right. That is when I started using social media. I lived in America for 10 years prior. I never went on social media. All right. But when I got into the country and I started my business, I told myself, Frida, style up. All right. You don't know your networks anymore. This is a sure way of hitting the ground running. And that's how I started using social media. I didn't know what I was doing. All right. Today I have people who come and tell me, I've been following you. So when we talk about tips and tricks for social media, the first thing is we need to get conscious of the life that we are living in. Yes, COVID has woken us up and it's like everybody has gone to social media, but social media was there in 2009 when I started Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, and I didn't know what I was doing. Social media was there in 2017 when I got on social media to now start doing Zoom and doing online training and stuff like that. I started that in 2017. I don't even remember if people remember that 2017 there was a political crisis. The political crisis people remember was the big one in 2007. But when I say 2017, there was a political crisis. We were not able to have our meetings. Remember, you were part of the Profit Network, and Profit Network meet in small restaurants. We couldn't. Why? That time, people could not cross from town to come to Westlands. We had a place on Mombasa Road. People could not come. So that is when we started finding out what else can we do. We tried Facebook Live. People didn't like going on Facebook. Then we found Zoom. All our coaching program, all the coaching and training that we know, we were trained in America from the comfort of our homes. So COVID, and then we started telling people, can we meet online? No. It's a face-to-face thing. You can't meet online. And then come COVID. Everybody's on Zoom, Google Meet, Teams, I don't know what. It is just lack of consciousness of what is going on around the world, what is required for us. And before I get it back to you, consciousness, even when you look at the research studies, we are being told that the MSME is that person who is making 500,000 and has less than 10 employees. Do the math for yourself, Angela. 500,000 a year, not a month, a year. In this economy, 500,000 divided by 12 is 46,000 shillings. how is this person paying themselves and 9 other people with 46,000 shillings in the Kenya today? Seriously? We really lack consciousness. Situation on the ground. that we are so disconnected from reality, it is ridiculous. Ridiculous. All right. So social media has been here since ages past. We should be on the TikToks and the what have yous, not talking Facebook and this and the other. Look at this wonderful platform where we are having the conference at. I mean, kudos to Sandbox and, the organizers of the big Baraza, my chief entrepreneur, Buanajora, let's be conscious. Let's be conscious. What are the resources available? And the last two things, because when we become conscious, my favorite book says that my people perish for lack of knowledge. And sometimes we find the knowledge, but because of ego and fear, we don't want to apply that knowledge. If I apply that knowledge, they will be better than me. No, I don't want to apply it. I've never done it before. What if I fail? If you fail, you get up and move on. So consciousness to get the appropriate knowledge and apply it, because knowledge is only potential power. Applied knowledge is power. So let's be conscious, get the knowledge that we need with all these wonderful data things that we're doing, and apply the appropriate knowledge for the appropriate problems and get the right interventions, and we will all thrive. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Frida. I think that
tips
is such
and
a
tricks.
good point. Tips and tricks. Those are tips and tricks. Like you've taken
Tip number one: get conscious.
You've taken me back to passion profits and the many things that I have learned from you over the years. So, June, maybe I can ask you here, even as people move online, and we all know, obviously, as you move online, you have a lot of branding, you have a lot of either you have goods that you're selling, services that you're selling, and I think I would just want to ask you, as an IP practitioner, what are these dangers? What do people need to be aware of? What do they need to protect, even as they move to take their services online? Because we all know how easy it is for people to either steal your work when you're on social media and pass it off on their own and all those things. So how do SMEs protect themselves? This is a common problem.
Yes, and thank you for raising that, because we have seen an increase. There's two sides to answer your question. The first is, yes, you have an opportunity to basically market yourself, to access a larger market, a larger audience, because with digital, the borders sort of disappear. So inter-county trade, somebody needs something to be couriered to your county. At the end of the day, your market expanded literally overnight as soon as one took their business to these online platforms. However, we're also seeing a lot of content creation on these platforms. So there's a risk, and this is a second aspect to consider, that you're also not infringing or illegally or unlawfully using other people's things. So when you're looking at your traditional businesses where I have a clothing business, right? And I take photos of the clothes and I say, well, I'm at stall number 26 on Moy Avenue, but you can also deliver. And every day I'm intentional about taking a photo and placing it on my social media platforms, on Instagram, saying this sizes are available, this colors are available, getting somebody to model. I mean, I think we've all seen those types of marketing approaches by some of these SMEs. But then there's also the content that we're seeing, where you have people creating audiovisual content, blogs, vlogs. They have podcasts now. There's a lot of online content that influencers, for example, who are technically SMEs also, or at least their businesses are SMEs, who are now creating content to basically help us relate. Because we find that now that there's been this explosion on these social media platforms and on digital spaces, our attention span as the audience is much shorter, and we're all competing for the same market. Our attention span as the audience is much shorter, and we're all competing for the same market. And as a result of that, you don't really have a lot of time to woo me as the customer. And of course, then what we find that people start doing is pick the most popular song, place it at the bottom of your video as you talk about the thing that you want to do. And as is, the article will do well, we'll get likes, we'll get shares, we'll get views. And without thinking, I need to get in touch with June or musician, whoever, to clear the rights and get the necessary permissions. So we're seeing a mix. So it's a friend and a foe. So I guess it's educating yourselves on how to.
Eric?
Sorry, I lost you a bit because of connection.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to repeat? I was saying we've seen that there's a disconnect between what government measures are.
There's a disconnect.
Yes. So I was asking just for each of us to give a quick one thing. What's the one thing you would tell the government today that they need to do, they need to consider, or they need to do differently when it comes to dealing with SMEs, so that the help that they are giving to SMEs actually reaches.
Comes to work with government. However, if we do want the government to hear us, there are structures for the government to hear us. And the first thing, if we went through those structures, the first thing definitely I would talk about taxation, because taxation has never built any developing country. So taxing us more is not going to help them remove their problems or pay their debts. They need to get that, all right? But if they taxed us in a more structured way, they will get more money and, maybe even pay off their debts. I think they need to relook at the way they tax us. Number two, I throw it back to the SMEs. Can the SMEs become conscious that talking to government on Twitter does not work? There are structures on how to talk to government. There are associations you can become part of course, like SME Founders Association, because like the sandboxes of this world, So there is a structured way to speak with government. Government is trying to come up with this SME network of networks. If it will help us, we don't know yet. But the key thing is let's stop working in silos. We are all here to earn a living. We are all here to make this country better. Government is not going to do it. We are the ones who are going to.
Mentality is necessary, but it is not the entire story. And why I say that is because we shy away from structures, and that's a fault of there not being a sufficiently enabling environment for government to allow all these SMEs to enter the fold, right, and be registered correctly, to be properly incorporated as an entity, not these briefcase organizations that so many of us start out as. And a more truly honor your promise to your citizens and create an enabling environment for us to set up whatever small business, so that you're not at a place where you're like, oh, if I'm not like corporate X, then there's no hope for me. Harmonize the definitions. What the central bank, a definition for an SME. You're either income tax. We don't have a place where we've been captured. You're either service industry, but what if you're service industry and you're a big corporation versus service industry and you're a small SME or a micro? Why are we all subject to the same provisions? Yet there's been no attempt to even just say, Kina Juna in this bracket, Kina Angie are here, let's solve their problems where they are. And when they move to the next level, then obviously things will apply differently. So I think that would be the thing I would say. But as Frida has said, also whisper.
Lobby the government, and this involves also sensitizing our leaders. The leaders that we elect, we need also to start asking questions, apart from building toilets and schools and churches. What are you doing for the small business in your area? Then secondly, the aspect of also the regulators, the government. We have a treasury that is always working on budgets. We hear this fantastic research government agencies. Why can they interact and share that information? And not just sharing and putting them in the shelves, but also asking themselves, that person who's running a small business, what do I need to do for him or her to enable him, if they're employing 2 people this year, next year to have 4 people, which means more revenue for the government. Then the other aspect of also looking at the current taxes that we have, how can we insensitize the businesses that we're using tax? Do I have to look at it from the point of view that my revenue collection this year will reduce by $1 billion? Why not look at the bigger picture? If I'm saving this SME this year and they stay afloat, it means next year they might be able to pay me the 2 million instead of the 500 they pay me this close business. Then on us as SME.
I like what you're saying, John. John, you said that no one asked you to be an entrepreneur. Actually, someone did.
No.
You know, someone did. And the truth is that we are getting into business because there are no job opportunities. So we have to survive. But I hear you.
One made.
Yes, I mean, it's a choice one made, but because there is no other choice.
No, that's not true.
Now we shall start this debate on day 3.
This revolution. Let me mute.
Day 3 of the conference. We shall have this debate. But thank you, guys. Thank you, Eric, for telling us that there's opportunity for those tax breaks.